Key marketing lessons from the book How, Right Between the Eyes, Profiting from the Power of Surprise. So that's really what this book is all about, is surprise. Now, one thing that happens when you start to become an advanced marketing person is you start to understand that it's not just about accurately conveying what the value proposition or positioning is for your product. It's not about just saying how you create superior value. It's really about how do you create an emotional connection so that people talk about your brand, they remember your product. Basically, it's really about standing out because it's a very crowded marketplace, very, very difficult to get noticed, and even more difficult to be remembered. Now, this book is written by the CEO of Just for Laughs. It's a clear example of where surprise is very profitable. Oprah decided everybody gets a car in one of the filmings of one of her episodes. So here, what we see is that this garnered a lot of attention and it generated tons of buzz through media. Everybody's talking about how everyone on the set of Oprah won a free car. And the media impact was worth about $5 million. So you see, there's a cascade effect that happens when you do things that are surprising. It's not just about the immediate audience that you have, it's about the cascade of getting other people talking about it and spreading the word through media channels. So, for example, Oprah's website had a 800% increase in traffic, and the Pontiac website had a 600% jump in traffic. So, that attention that you get from surprise is very profitable. Now, it may seem emotional, it may seem super creative, but financially, it's worthwhile to invest in surprise. Another good example is Will It Blend? So this was a series of videos published for the Blendtec blender, and basically they blended surprising things that you would never put in a blender. For example, this one has 19 million views by blending an iPad in a food blender. Another good example, Kinder Surprise, one of the most iconic candies out there, and it's all built around the element of you don't know what you're gonna get. It could be, uh, any number of different toys that are locked inside. Now, I'm gonna read you a quick quote here. "Don't try to sell me. Just make it easy for me to buy. Don't make me feel that somehow it was forced on me. Don't, not even for a millisecond, make me feel that the decision was yours and not mine." Now, this highlights one of the things that distinguishes junior marketing managers from senior ones, which is the idea that you can't really force people to do things. You can't just convince them to buy. What you do as a marketer is you work with their preconceived ideas and you nudge them in the right direction. So that's really what we're trying to do here when we're using the element of surprise is we're working with people's innate attraction towards things that are interesting. I encouraged a somewhat anti-marketing approach, one that sells by not selling. Just give me enough eye-popping, eyebrow-raising info to make me want to come to you to buy. And this really gets to what a lot of marketing really is, the real meta game of marketing, which is how do you stand out and be memorable, not just how do you precisely communicate what the superior value is that you deliver. Good example of this is one of the ads I'm currently running on YouTube and here on Facebook and Instagram, which is the $1 billion digital marketing master. So I hired this actor who is saying some absurd over the top statements like, I had 1,000,000% ROI and I got promoted faster than the CEO of Google. It's a very tongue in cheek ad, but I see that it has almost double the click through rate of what you would typically see with a Facebook ad. And I'm not saying click through rate's the most uh, best KPI for measuring the success of an ad, but it is one indicator. A better indicator is that people are going to remember this because it was bold, it was over the top, it was not a boring communication of what value is that I create. Another good example is out of Singapore. We have these soda brands which are anything and whatever. So, a very clever, humorous way of describing what people want. What do you want? Whatever. Anything's fine. So it's a joke. You're using humor to get surprise. So one thing to keep in mind is that surprising things can't be predictable or expected. So usually when you go to a hotel, you might expect a complimentary drink. That's very common, lemonade, something like that. But what DoubleTree did, which was purchased by Hilton when I went there, was they give you a free cookie, and the cookie's really good. It's like a warm, fresh cookie. Stands out. Now, over time, that may fade as other hotels start to copy it and it has less appeal, but in the meantime, it is very successful. Another good example is cited in the book is waiting in line, and then someone comes over and offers you a free chocolate. It stands out. You might talk about it. You might even publish it in a book. So you generate a word of mouth through that. Another example is with the director of The Sixth Sense. Now, The Sixth Sense was a huge success, and largely because it had a surprise twist at the end of the movie. But the director subsequently released a number of different movies following the same formula, where there's this dramatic twist at the end, and basically the element of surprise became predictable. And that's one of the reasons that his movies have not done as well over time as they did originally when it was unexpected. So even surprise can become predictable and unsurprising, ironically. Another good example is Gillette. Gillette keeps adding more and more blades to their razors, and eventually it just doesn't matter anymore. There's diminishing returns there because people come to expect that there'll be more blades. Another good example is a number of banks that were giving away free iPods. Now, I did that. I opened a bank account, got a free iPod, but once every bank starts to do that, it loses its luster. It's not surprise. It's not really worth talking about anymore when everybody does it. Okay, so let's talk about some other elements where customer service or customer success and support can really help with warranties and guarantees and things like this. So Briggs and Riley is one of the most durable luggage brands that's out there. And I wanted to know what all the hype was about. So I recently bought one. I bought this item here. I think it came to around $1,000 Canadian or something. So not cheap, but not as expensive as Rimowa. And it's a well-made luggage. It doesn't stand out as particularly innovative. It's the material seems it's polycarbonate, which is a little bit more on the premium side of materials, but looking at it, there's nothing outstanding about it. But here's what's particularly outstanding, what really solidifies what the product is about, because durability is not something you can easily look at and identify. I don't know that this is going to last 20 years, but there's some indicators that help me determine that. And here's what it is. Briggs& and Riley is the only luggage company that offers a lifetime guarantee. In the unlikely event that your bag needs to be repaired, we are here for you. Our simple as that guarantee, notice the registered trademark here, means if your bag is ever broken or damaged, we will repair it free of charge. No proof of purchase needed, no questions asked. I don't know about you, but I have never in my life ever run across a guarantee, a warranty where you weren't required to provide proof of purchase. Now, I had to do this recently with the luxury audio equipment from Bang& Olufsen, and not only did I need proof of purchase, but I needed a specific type of proof of purchase where my name is written on it. It had to be this commercial receipt. I couldn't just give them the receipt that the retailer had given me. So they're very strict about it. Briggs& and Riley, you don't even need to prove you bought it. Basically, they're standing 100% behind their product. That is surprising. That is different. That is what makes this warranty and this brand worth talking about. And that's why when I go on the Reddit forums and I read things like buy it for life, products that last forever, Briggs& and Riley consistently comes out as the top one to buy. Whereas some other brands like Monos seem to be inflating their reviews with products that break the first time you use it on a flight. All right, let's look at another example, Zappos. Zappos offers free 4-day delivery. That's pretty good, but most of the time it delivers next day. A surprise that leaves a lasting impression on customers. You said 4 days, but I get them the next morning. So exceeding expectations here is another way of generating word of mouth, of generating surprise. So you see how customer service, standing by your customers and your products helps generate word of mouth. So it's really a marketing play and not necessarily just a customer support play. Perhaps the epitome of excellent PR would be Sir Richard Branson. He's just an absolute magnet for media attention, and he does this as really surprising things. So these stunts where he dresses up as an astronaut, or he does some sort of extreme sport like jumping from a building, or in this case, he drives a tank down Fifth Avenue to launch Virgin Cola. Now, you might think, okay, well, he built his whole brand on being bold, but what about conservative organizations? What about my company? What about a large company? What about a company that's just been around for 100 years and the owner doesn't want to do anything differently? Well, even Harvard Business School, and it would be hard to think of anything more conservative than this than perhaps a church, they decided to go with something bold. They even changed their coat of arms for a marketing campaign that would resemble something that would come out of Apple. Another good example is Lakehead University in Canada. They put out this campaign mocking President George Bush, Yale Schmale. Basically, what they're saying here is just because you went to an Ivy League school doesn't mean you're smart, but being smart means you choose Lakehead University. So, really bold, out of the box thinking here with this kind of marketing. And what I would implore you to do, especially if you're in a small business, is you can be really bold. You can take huge risks because you have no reputation to lose. And if you fail, nobody's going to remember you. So perhaps the insurmountable challenge as a small business is just getting noticed. And doing things like this can really help you. We also have Wilkes University here. They created a series of ads calling out students' names, high school students, in a bold, interesting play. They invested $120,000, but they generated, according to the book, about 100 times that in the value. So again, it's not just about direct advertising or the direct impact of advertising, but it's the word of mouth, it's the cascade effect that you're really investing in, and that's what really comes from creative marketing like these. All right, now Brigade Theater did some really bold stunts to generate word of mouth, to generate surprise. They held a book signing from someone, an author who was dead for over a century. They did a stunt where they brought entire desktop computers to Starbucks and got people to work on them as though they were laptops. So that's kind of cool. That stands out. That's funny. That's nostalgic. And then they also held a fake U2 concert in Manhattan. Now we have 4 rules for word of mouth from Andy Cernovitz from the book. So number 1 is be interesting. Nobody talks about boring companies, and I think this is one of the things for people like me who went the MBA route for marketing and the more analytical side where you're looking at the numbers and stuff. We tend to think in very precise terms of here's the benefit you're going to talk about, here's what you're going to get. And a lot of direct response marketing people are the same way, but really you need to be not boring. You need to stand out, you need to be creative. You need to think a little bit more like an advertising artist to get noticed. And the other thing is make people happy. So, for example, the cookies at DoubleTree made me happy. And it's actually a joke or a surprise built into this, which is that there are 4 rules. That's enough. All you really need are the first 2. So that's one thing that makes his 4 rules memorable, is that there's actually only 2 of them. So how do you put surprise in your marketing? You got to give them what they don't expect when they least expect it. That's how you stand out. And being fresh is better, but more difficult than being new. Being fresh requires that you always work in a single on-changing context, what the brand actually stands for. So this is one of the challenges in brand management is, yeah, you got to come up with new innovative things, but you also need to tie it into the brand world, tie it into a connection and association with your brand. Like if Coke suddenly decided to change their logo, well, that's maybe not the best move because people might associate it with Pepsi or something else. And this point is also highlighted in the book How Brands Grow, which is that old ads, old marketing brand assets repeated over and over and over is how you affect memory structures, which is one of the primary goals of marketing. So the real challenge is the subtlety of how do we make this new and interesting without completely getting around what our brand stands for and what makes our brand iconic and distinctive. You see the same thing in entertainment, for example. People really just want the same old romance stories, the same old action stories, but just with a fresh little twist to it. Maybe there's something a little bit different. Maybe it's set in a country you wouldn't normally see it in, or maybe the character is a man when it's used traditionally a woman. Just one little slight change. They want freshness, not complete newness, not complete uniqueness either. The other thing is that people love free stuff, and free stuff is surprising because you usually have to pay for things. And an example of this was marketing the video game Donald Trump's Real Estate Tycoon. And what they did to promote this was they gave away 1,000 $1 bills, and they stamped advertisements right onto the bills themselves. So you can imagine the visual of throwing all these dollar bills into the sky and people running to collect it and then reading what's stamped on it, which is something that will fade over time, but will basically promote this video game. And the PR stunt is one thing, but the media cascade from it is really where you get the benefit. When GameStop is publishing about the stunt that was pulled, more people are going to hear about the brand, and that's really where the real investment, the real metagame of marketing is, that the media impact. So not only do they love free stuff, but they also love being appreciated. So we're going to highlight an example here from Bounce, the fabric softener company, an unexpected note that was in the box. And within the box, there was an envelope. And within the envelope, there was a card that had this note in it. Dear friend, at Bounce, we believe even the little things should brighten your day. So on our 35th US and 31st Canadian anniversaries, we'd simply like to thank you for choosing Bounce. Thank you, everyone at Bounce. So there's really nothing here. There's no coupon. There's nothing other than appreciation. But it was so unexpected. You don't usually get this from companies, CPG companies. So it was something that people talk about. So being worth talking about. An example of this, highlighted in the book, is Madonna Inn in California. I believe it's Luis El Obispo, which is a place that I've been. I used to live in San Francisco Bay Area, so this is a popular area to go for, a staycation or a small vacation. And what makes this special and worth talking about is that every room is different. It's unique accommodations, individually themed guest rooms. So that little angle is something that makes it worth going to, makes this Madonna Inn stand out relative to the other uh, accommodations that are in the area, because you don't really know what you're going to get. Are you going to get some in specific theme that you didn't get last time? And just the whole story built around the uniqueness is going to generate media buzz. So being worth talking about. Here's another example. There was a sign like this in Canada where it said, "Attention dog owners, please pick up after your dogs. Attention dogs, grr, bark, woof, good dog." So this one sign might get noticed by X number of people per day. But when the media picks up on it and when people start talking about it, you amplify the reach. And reach is incredibly important in marketing, one of the most important KPIs. How many people noticed what you're talking about? So this message of cleaning up after your dogs spreads exponentially because of the cleverness of this. And one of the things highlighted in Red Marketing, this was written by the people that did the marketing for Taco Bell, Yum Brands, KFC, etc., is the idea that you're really investing in the ripple effect from throwing a stone into a pond. So the ad or the campaign is the stone, but the word of mouth, the media attention, that's the ripples through the ocean. Another example, Nudie Jeans says that you shouldn't wash your jeans for 6 months. Now, that's kind of an absurd thing. Who's going to do that? Probably nobody, but that's something people talk about, and people are going to reference it as, oh, you mean the jeans that you're not supposed to wash? Oh, yeah, that's crazy. So you're generating, what I have here in the visual is waves. You're generating waves of marketing attention. People notice tiny changes before they recognize massive shifts. So often surprise is really tactical. It's as tactical as a hotel giving away free cookie. Does that have anything to do with the fundamental value proposition of having a place to sleep? Absolutely not. It's incredibly tactical. And because that's often what people notice. They notice the small things. An example of this was in a restaurant. They had framed images, paintings of cutlery mislabeled. So they would have this fork and write the word spoon on it. That's something people talk about and take notice of. You want to be story worthy. So, for example, the Humane Society and SPCA released 120 mad dogs into a mall. Now, they weren't really live dogs, they were life-size cutouts of dogs, so basically cardboard. Now, you could have just put up the cardboard things, but if you pitch it as a story, oh, we released 120 mad dogs into a mall, that's something the journalists are going to love, and that's going to generate lots of free reach for your marketing campaign. All right, other ways to be story worthy. You could charge $275 for a burger, and you don't even have to, nobody has to actually pay for it. It's just the fact that you have it on the menu is worth talking about. And I think that's what a lot of marketers miss in marketing, is that it's not just about generating value. It's generating word of mouth with things that are superficial. They don't have to be substantive. Another example, you may have heard of this quadruple bypass burger. It's absurd, it's crazy, it's over the top, but everybody talks about it. And then ultimately, at the end of the day, you're just going to be selling your $15 burger, but it doesn't matter. The point is the word of mouth got the attention. All right, another example. Bare Naked went door to door giving away food during Halloween instead of trick or treating and asking for stuff. That kind of thing stands out. That kind of thing is media juice. Why? Because it's timely. Media love when things are timely, like built around Halloween or recent news or the holidays or something like that. Way more likely to publish something about you if it resonates with what people are interested in that time of year. And it's not just conventional media, but it's also going to spread through social media as well. Now, be weird or funny, okay? Don't be afraid to do this. Shreddies, for example, these little square wheat cereals marketed themselves as new diamond shreddies, and all they did was they took the square shreddy and put it on an angle. Absurd, crazy, funny, weird. Voodoo donuts, very popular. Lots of lineups for this, and they did something crazy. They made an actual voodoo doll donut that you stab with pretzel sticks. Completely crazy, over the top, very distinctive. It's a crazy name. What does voodoo have to do with donuts? Nothing. It's a crazy name that people remember. And then you create a voodoo doll out of a donut, and it's even more juice to talk about. Another example, pizza cones. Putting a pizza in a cone, crazy idea like ice cream, but it works. Do things out of context. So, for example, serve coffee in the elevator instead of in the lobby. Serve Coke like you would champagne. Put a list of ingredients on your shoebox, even though you would normally only see that with food. Print your ad upside down the way UPS did. Or you're a luxury brand, make these absurd ads for your jewelry where you have these beautiful women doing completely absurd looks and they look like they're trying to be funny, but you're actually trying to sell something super expensive. That's going to help you stand out in a market where everybody's doing the same thing.